The sun burned mercilessly over a barren wasteland. Red sand shimmered like molten glass, the wind whispering across dunes that had swallowed countless bones. This was the land of drought and silence, where even death moved slowly. But beneath the surface, something stirred. A deep rumble passed through the sand as the ground cracked open. A claw, black and jagged, tore upward through the crust. Then came the sound, a low, thunderous growl that made even the vultures flee. From the heart of the desert rose a monster, the Carnotaurus. Its skin was dark crimson, scarred from battles long forgotten. Two horns crowned its skull like a devil from the underworld, and its yellow eyes burned with intelligence and fury. It had been sleeping, waiting for the land to awaken. Now, hunger pulled it back to life. The Carnotaurus moved through the wasteland with terrifying grace. Fast, silent, deadly. Every movement stirred clouds of dust behind it. Its tail swayed like a whip, its nostrils flaring as it caught a distant scent. Prey. A herd of iguanodons wandered near the edge of a cracked riverbed, unaware that the desert's devil had returned. The Carnotaurus lowered its head, muscles tightening, horns gleaming under the sunlight. Then, it ran. It was speed incarnate. The sand exploded under its feet. In seconds, it closed the distance. The herd scattered, screams echoing through the desert, but one stumbled. That was all it took. The Carnotaurus struck like lightning, jaws crushing bone, dust rising around the chaos. Silence followed, broken only by the wind and the predator's breathing. The devil of the Dustlands had fed, and the desert trembled once more. Days passed. The Carnotaurus ruled the desert unchallenged. Every creature that crossed its path met the same fate, swift, brutal, and final. But balance in nature never remains untouched. Far beyond the dunes, a rival scent drifted through the wind, deep, musky, powerful. A Giganotosaurus, a giant of the open plains, drawn by the scent of fresh kills. When the Carnotaurus first saw it, the world seemed to stop. The Giganotosaurus towered like a living mountain, its footsteps shaking the cracked ground. Yet the devil of the desert did not retreat. It tilted its head, horns glinting in the sun, and roared, a sound of pure defiance. The Giganotosaurus answered with thunder. Birds scattered. The dunes themselves seemed to shift under their power. The two predators circled each other, the silence between roars heavier than the sound itself. Then, without warning, the Carnotaurus charged, faster, lower, its horns aimed at the giant's chest. The clash was catastrophic. Sand exploded, tails lashed, and jaws snapped. The smaller predator was quicker, darting in and out like a flame. But one strike from the Giganotosaurus sent it crashing into the dust. Blood ran down its side, yet it rose again, roaring back into battle. The desert became their arena. Hours passed before the fight ended. The Giganotosaurus, retreating, bleeding, humiliated. The Carnotaurus stood alone amidst the storming sands, battered but victorious. The devil had proven that speed and fury could outmatch brute strength. Seasons changed. The desert grew crueler. The air shimmered with heat so fierce it blurred the horizon. Water vanished from the riverbeds, and the bones of the fallen bleached under the sun. Even the Carnotaurus, the devil of the dust, began to weaken. Hunger carved through its body, every rib visible beneath its rough skin. For the first time in ages, the predator hesitated before a hunt. One evening, as the sky turned crimson, the wind changed. A smell. Rain. The Carnotaurus lifted its head, nostrils flaring. But what came was not salvation. It was a storm. A wall of sand rose from the horizon, twisting like a living creature. Lightning crackled within it, thunder shaking the dunes. The Carnotaurus roared into the storm, refusing to bow. The wind struck like knives, sand tearing at its flesh. It fought to move forward, but nature itself had declared war. The storm swallowed everything, sound, light, life. Hours passed before the desert fell silent again. When the sun rose, the Carnotaurus stood amidst ruins of dunes, half buried in red sand, eyes still glowing. It had survived what no beast should. The storm could not kill the devil. It had only made it stronger. The desert was never the same after the storm. New rivers carved through old bones, and strange creatures crept into the wasteland. Among them, a pack of dromaeosaurs, smaller, clever hunters that hunted in silence. They followed the Carnotaurus for days, watching, waiting. The devil of the desert was injured, its strength fading from lack of food. The hunters smelled weakness and saw an opportunity. Under a blood-red sunset, the pack struck. They moved fast, claws slashing, teeth tearing. The Carnotaurus spun, roaring, horns slicing through air and flesh alike. Two of the small predators fell instantly, but the others leapt onto its back. The ground turned into a blur of violence and sand. The Carnotaurus slammed itself into the cliffs, crushing attackers under its weight. The fight raged through the night, until the final raptor lay motionless, its blood staining the dust. Panting, broken, but alive. The devil stood victorious once more. It looked toward the horizon, where the moon rose pale and cold, and let out a roar that echoed across the entire desert. No matter how many came for its crown, none would ever take it. Years passed. The sands shifted, burying the bones of every creature that dared challenge the devil. The desert became a graveyard of memories, the wind the only thing left to whisper their names. One night, as the stars burned bright, the Carnotaurus stood at the edge of a cliff, overlooking its endless kingdom of dust. It was old now, its movements slower, its eyes clouded, yet the fire within remained unbroken. Below, the desert shimmered with faint light, lightning flickering in distant storms. The devil of the Dustlands gave one final roar, long, deep, filled with power and sorrow. It echoed across the dunes, through canyons and caves, reaching even the deepest corners of the wasteland. And when the echo finally faded, the desert fell silent. When the morning came, only wind and sand remained. But in that silence, the legend lived on. Travelers would later speak of shadows moving through dust, of horns gleaming under moonlight, of a roar that sometimes rose with the desert wind. They called it the devil of the Dustlands, the one who ruled not through strength alone, but through fire, fury, and the will to never bow. And somewhere, buried beneath endless red dunes, the Carnotaurus still dreams.